Are you ready to see how the front office manages the massive salary cap squeeze facing the Houston Texans this season? We are tracking 10 key players, including stars like CJ Stroud and Nico Collins, who are all vying for significant contract extensions while the clock ticks on their current deals. This situation is massive because the team simply cannot afford to pay everyone, forcing us to choose which stars define our future. We need to break down what happened with these contracts and what it means for our competitive window. The deeper we dive, the clearer it becomes that these decisions will change everything. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your name and city in the comments below. Let's get into it. The Houston Texans are entering a defining season where the financial future of our core roster is under the microscope. We have 10 key players, ranging from stars like CJ Stroud and Nico Collins to rising talents like Callan Bullock and Kamari Lassiter, who are all navigating critical contract situations. Some are playing for final year extensions, while others are eyeing massive pay raises as their current deals reach their conclusion. It is a sobering reality that we cannot retain every contributor, as the salary cap makes these roster decisions incredibly difficult for Cal Mcnair and the front office under the leadership of DeMeco Ryans. What makes this even bigger is that the individual success of these men this season directly impacts our championship window. The emotional weight for us fans is palpable. We have watched these players grow, battle through injuries like Tank Dell and Brevin Jordan, and cement their places in the Texans culture. Seeing guys like Xavier Hutchinson, Tommy Togiai, and Henry To'oTo'o fight for their next big payday adds a layer of personal stakes to every single snap we watch this autumn. While we love the production we have seen from the likes of Nico Collins or the defensive impact of Kamari Lassiter, the cold business side of the NFL is looming over NRG Stadium. The anxiety centers on who will stay and who might be forced to seek their fortune elsewhere once free agency begins. With so much talent across the board, the tension is not just about winning games, but about how the team will manage the inevitable departure of beloved starters. As we prepare to evaluate these performances, one looming question remains. How will the front office prioritize these contracts when the salary demands across the offense and defense begin to overlap and create a potential logjam for our future? The most surprising reality facing our franchise today is that despite having the most promising roster in years, we are mathematically forced to move on from several core contributors due to rising salary cap constraints. While we have enjoyed watching this talented group grow together under Cal Mcnair and DeMeco Ryans, the simple math of the NFL dictates that we cannot pay everyone at their market value. We are currently navigating a tricky landscape where high-performing players like Callan Bullock and Kamari Lassiter are earning less than $3 million while producing at a level that usually commands 8 figures. Here's where it gets interesting as we evaluate the front office strategy behind closed doors. They are likely balancing the desire to keep our championship window open with the cold reality of impending market resets for our veteran stars. Historically, this team has been cautious with massive spending, but we have never possessed a young core this deep since the inception of the franchise. The coaching staff understands that keeping this locker room culture intact is vital. Yet they also know that a business decision today could save us from a fiscal nightmare in 2028. We see a similar tension unfolding elsewhere across the league, like what the Titans are currently navigating with their own roster construction, which underscores just how difficult it is to sustain success in the modern era. Every snap this season becomes a high-stakes audition for guys like Henry To'oTo'o and Xavier Hutchinson, who are fighting for their professional futures in a room filled with fierce competition. We are witnessing a pivotal chapter in Texans history where talent evaluation meets the harsh limits of the salary cap. It is a balancing act that will define the legacy of this specific era of Houston football for years to come. With those roster specifics clear, we must look at the broader implications for our organization heading into this pivotal year. Here's what people are missing when they discuss these 10 individuals and their future in Houston. The reality is that the financial landscape of the NFL is tightening, and we simply cannot keep everyone on this roster once their deals expire. This matters immensely right now because the decisions made by Cal Mcnair and the front office regarding these extensions will define our team's window for a championship. If we prioritize long-term defensive cornerstones like Callan Bullock or Kamari Lassiter, it inevitably forces us to make difficult sacrifices within our wide receiver core or at the linebacker position. This creates a volatile situation where our depth chart could see significant turnover by the 2027 season if we do not manage our cap space with extreme precision during these upcoming months. For our immediate schedule, these contract situations add massive pressure to every single snap, especially during critical divisional matchups against the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. If our key playmakers are pressing too hard to secure their next big payday, it could lead to unforced errors that shift our momentum in games that decide who makes the playoffs. We need steady, veteran-led composure on the field to ensure we maintain our standing against rivals who are constantly looking for any sign of weakness. While we all want to see these talented men rewarded for their hard work, the primary goal remains team success over individual accolades. Watching how these players balance their personal ambitions with the needs of the collective will be the most fascinating storyline of the year. And ultimately, it will dictate whether we remain a top-tier contender in the AFC throughout this entire season. Managing a roster where so many vital contributors reach contract expiration simultaneously creates a high-stakes balancing act for Cal Mcnair and the front office. The upside of this situation is clear, as these players are highly motivated to produce career-best seasons to maximize their market value, which naturally elevates our team ceiling. When elite talents like Callan Bullock, Kamari Lassiter, and Nico Collins perform with personal financial security on the line, the Houston Texans benefit from their peak production during a championship window. However, the downside is equally significant because the salary cap is a harsh reality that dictates we simply cannot retain everyone. We risk losing homegrown contributors to hungry franchises that possess deeper pockets, potentially forcing us to replace proven starters with unproven draft picks. Analysts across the league, including those covering the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens, have noted that teams with a young quarterback like CJ Stroud often face this exact fiscal dilemma once the rookie contract discounts expire. And the more I look at this, it becomes evident that guys like Tank Dell and Henry To'oTo'o are essentially playing for their next landing spot, whether that is here or elsewhere in the league. What I really think is that the concern regarding CJ Stroud's future is largely media-driven noise. While the discourse surrounding his next deal is intense, I find the suggestions that he might not be the long-term answer to be completely disconnected from the reality of his impact on this franchise. We should feel confident that the organization will prioritize keeping our core pieces intact. But it is wise to expect some difficult departures as the business side of professional football begins to tighten around us. This 2026 season will serve as the final evaluation for many who hope to call Houston their permanent professional home. When you combine the reality of these expiring deals with the high expectations for our roster, the broader outlook for the Houston Texans becomes a story of balancing championship aspirations with long-term financial discipline. This transition means our front office will face difficult choices as they aim to sustain this winning window under Cal Mcnair. We should feel optimistic yet realistic heading into the season because a team with this much talent is naturally going to have more players demanding premium extensions than the salary cap can accommodate. The bottom line here is that our current success under DeMeco Ryans has raised the stakes for every single player mentioned today. We are watching a front office that must decide which contributors are truly foundational for the future and which pieces are simply vital for a single championship run. It is the classic dilemma of a rising contender that has finally arrived. With these 10 talented players all vying for their next big payday, we are essentially witnessing the high-pressure evolution of our team from an up-and-coming squad into a polished, legitimate powerhouse that demands total dedication from everyone in the locker room. It is a thrilling, albeit stressful time to be a follower of this franchise as we look to maximize this golden era. Looking at this group of 10, if the Texans could realistically only sign 2 of these players to long-term extensions before next summer, which 2 would you prioritize to keep our championship window wide open? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Toro time, I'll see you in the next one. Until then, make sure to drop your own roster predictions in the comments section below because your input truly makes this community the best place for every dedicated Texans fan.